Welcome back to PyByte YouTube. Today, a quick video on making a shell alias or function rather. An interesting use case where I wanted to open a GitHub URL from a Git remote. And yeah, hope it shows you as well that you don't always need Python, that with some basic shell scripting, you can actually get pretty far and it's pretty useful. So let's dive straight in. So this is the repo from the last time. And I have many repos on my system. And sometimes navigating just GitHub or going to repo fast, I always end up searching for repos, and it takes time. And I don't like losing time. So what if we can go to the GitHub URL from a remote? So from the last video, we made a little bootstrap branch on the Django starter project. So the goal is to, from this Git remote v output, to go to the URL, the corresponding repo in the browser, right? Now you can open a URL like this, at least on a Mac. So the only thing I need to do is convert this into a GitHub URL, right? So there might be multiple remotes. So the first thing I'm going to do is be a bit more specific. Get remote, get URL, origin, right? So if there are 4 remotes, I can really target it with this subcommand. Of course, I could also have done git remote -v grep, a line that starts with origin, but then I already get 2 hits, and yeah, then I need to do another pipe, etc., right? So always try to leverage the commands as much as you can. And this is a very concise way to get the origin remote. So we got the origin remote. Let's now parse it. And I can use set, which basically takes a pattern, and you can give it a replacement. And if there's not a match, then it just it doesn't do anything. It just falls through, right? So the pattern I'm looking here for is git add github.com. It's not much of a pattern, actually. It's not, but you can do a very complex thing. You could say if this is or colon or slash, of course, then you would have to escape the slash. But in this case, that's not really necessary. Then replace it with, and here I'm actually going to use slashes, so that's kind of awkward, but I will have a workaround soon. github.com/. And yeah, so now we have to or escape the slashes, or we can change the delimiter, right? So we can say, instead of slashes, I was actually going to do add, but we also have a literal add symbol here. So that's also not a good candidate, but we don't really have commas. So we can use commas to separate the pattern from the replacement. How Unix pipes works is the standard output of the first command is going to be piped in, becomes a standard input to this command, right? And set works on standard input. So this command is going to send this to the standard output, as you see here. But if you pipe it, then it becomes the standard input to this command. And then this is going to replace this substring by this substring. And that's exactly what we need. Because if I now click this, I cannot even click this. It's not a URL. But this I can click, and then I go to the repo. So that's awesome, right? And what if we add another remote? Does it also work with, if this would be the remote? So for example, we say git remote add test. And now my git remote -v has another remote in it. Well, first of all, this still works. This also still works. But does it also work for the test remote? And it does, because in this case, that whole replacement just doesn't match anything, and then it just falls through, showing the original. So yeah, that means it works now both for SSH as HTTPS remotes. Now to test this out, I can put it in a function, and it's almost what we did. The only thing I forgot to show you is that I'm actually going to put this in a subcommand with the $ and parentheses, store the URL in a variable, and then use the open command, open files and directory, which command, if you're given the URL, will open it in the browser. So I have this in my ZSHRC because I'm using the C shell. And if I now do open repo, it opens the GitHub URL for this repo. But if I go to another repo, for example, PyBytes books, I call it here, it will open PyBytes books. So that's really useful. If I go to search, open repo, it opens the search repo. Or if I go to PyBytes carbon, it opens that repo. So it's really cool because, again, I don't have to search on GitHub. And as I'm increasingly opening issues for everything I do on repos, this really encouraged me to keep doing that, because I can very fast go from the command line GitHub repo to the actual GitHub page. So I hope that's helpful, and that it shows you that with a little bit of shell scripting, you can get pretty far, and that you don't always have to use Python as a hammer for every nail. So yeah, some shell scripting goes a long way, and these little aliases and tools are saving me a ton of time, and I hope that they soon will do for you too. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.